19 minutes. I don't suppose it's required I go any longer, and I can make longer videos, so I just have to delete all the old ones. So we're speaking truth to power. Right? I see the forest for the trees, prostrate before an altar tree. On bended knee, what does he say? Saul Williams. A metal ladder, a wooden chair, plastic. Right? What a poem. Release. Right? I don't just know guitar stuff. Prevalent melanin, elephant belly. I don't know, is he exhausted, you know? I write 15,000 words a day on it and bury the entire industry. Every day, right? Multiple times a day, more than once. Now I'm involving real psychics. Real psychics. People who, right, who stand tall and say, this is how I earn my living. This is how I make a dollar. By understanding the mind. Understanding creation. Understanding reality. Right? One of my coworkers, I worked for a company in Colorado for a long time. And he was talking about witches. And he said, yeah, just say you like the aesthetic and you're a freak in bed. And I thought, oh, that's pretty much it, isn't it? But there is, right? There's a truth there. There's like a real, right? Why did Pythagoras pick the pentagram? Why do witches pick pentagrams, right? 19th century occultism. Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. If you've read my novel, and I know that none of you have, but if you have, then you remember Max tells Sarah and Ashley that they represent vectors of psychic intention, right? That when you use the compass, right? That when you, right? 1 second. When you take a hot glue gun, right, and you put this thing together, right, and you can keep going, like out, you can make it bigger, make real sculptures with them. Not only are you defining it physically, like in the world, right, you're defining it intellectually in your mind. This is the point, right? And so, this is why I couldn't give him an inch. Because my mind is a celestial cage. Right? And again, right, it really is. It's a lot easier than, right? We're both fucking wrecks psychologically. That's like, there it is. He didn't want to give me an inch. I didn't want to give him an inch. Because of all this hot pussy between us. And that's kind of funny, actually. Because, like, he didn't realize that, like, I was literally going to do everything in my power to avoid doing that. Right? And I didn't realize that, right, that the film is not, right, the film's not like if Taxi Driver, right, it's not like Taxi Driver meets porno sets. That's not, right, or porno theaters. That's like, that's what I saw. It's like a guy, like a weird guy, right? I thought it was like someone like me, right, who like writes smut and everyone fucks all around him, you know, like that's like right? But the truth is much more sordid and very complicated and complex and sad, and for both of us, as far as what it represents psychologically, spiritually, emotionally. I was emotionally immature. I was being childish. He was being childish. We both see each other in each other. I see a writer who's misunderstood by the world. Right? He sees a writer who's misunderstood by the world. And like, I don't know. Like, you know, again, I stand by what I said in my last video. He wanted me to be young, dumb, and full of cum and have nothing but ambition and submit. And that, right? I can't do that. I can't, like, once you cross like a certain threshold of like wisdom, of like intellectual understanding, right? Then I betray something in me for money? No. I can get a job. Right? Life's not about money. Right? maybe it is about having a family, right? And so if I understood that the women wanted to meet me, I probably would have foresought my celibacy immediately because they're so goddamn fine. And we right? But because I'm like a cloister, like kind of sexual prude, and I'm not, right? But I am. I didn't say all those things about putting babies in all these women in Hollywood because I understood like how deeply flawed he is, right? I did it as a counterbalance to his vectors of psychic intention upon me, right? That he's keen on doing sadistic black magic shit to make me believe that he's giving me AIDS, that he's like trying to kill me with magic, right? Which is not, right? It's like maybe a little antiquated, but it's not irrelevant. It's not invalid, right? It is. These are valid tactics that can have real physical repercussions in the world, right? And they manifest in a myriad of ways that I'm not going to go on and on about. Right, but that's why I said, oh, I think you need to fucking cool out and let me put babies in all these women. Not realizing that that's like, right, the clairvoyance, right? That it just cut right through him. Cut right fucking through him. When I cursed those women's reproductive organs in August of 2024 and laid claim to them. Because the film has always been him addressing his infertility, you know? And so, right, again, it was always through my lens. It was never me saying like, oh, I'm a badass hardcore psychic, right? It was me always appreciating that he's a badass hardcore psychic. Like that's it, right? Nothing else. And seeing it for what it is, like seeing him violating my mind, like stealing all of my secrets in this way, right? I said, okay, how about this? Boom. I swallow all their wombs forever. And so now it's done. Right? It's done. That's kind of how it works, isn't it? Right, and so this is my point in the comment that I replied to one of the comments in my last video, where I said that like beyond me obviously admitting that I want to fuck Sydney Sweeney, right? That's like, right? That's not really that interesting. Like, is it not a better question to ask any of these women, right? Can you honestly say that there will be another man who has exhibited, 5%, 10% of what I've shown them all in terms of caring for them and all these things in like a holistic, like spiritually pure, like loving way, right? Like not to violate their fine ass bodies, but I think that like we're all kind of like there in that way, but to help them be happy and be free and have their minds back and all these things. And so, right, there's always ways of justifying anything. The easiest and truest answer as far as show business and crowdism and thinking telepathy is cool and all of those things is that I'm a loser and that's the end of the discussion. Right? But if the truth is much more complicated than that, as far as the script, as far as the women in relation to it, then in fact it does make a lot of sense. In fact, this is the only scenario that makes sense. That he has exacted this hideous campaign, creating this psychiatric case study in all of our minds, because the women demanded to speak to me immediately, because they knew that I am the only man that they can speak openly to about how Quentin has been treating them all these years, and I'll know exactly what to do. Like, yes, that's the point, isn't it? And so he's been holding them in this quasi-criminal fashion for all this time, because, right, if you've read the novel, the last scene of the novel, right, Sarah, right? If you replace Sarah with Quentin and replace Alistair with all of us, then you see how it is now, right? But if you put all 5 of us together, right, then it's flipped completely. And I don't have to do anything. I don't have to do anything but like direct the hot witches and say, right, do my bidding. And they go off, just like Sarah. And when they're tired, I say, can you move? Give me more, right? Sweat until your hands are bloody. Go until you pass out. Yes, that's the point. Right? And I don't want to do that. He definitely doesn't want us to do that. Right? So my point is that, right, if he's been this awful for all this time, then maybe it was kind of necessary on a spiritual, psychological, true level to no longer indulge him. Because he is in his 60s now. His birthday's coming up. And I think there's a palpable truth there. I was a coward because I'm terrified to get laid, especially fuck the hottest women in the world, not realizing that, right, he wanted to project a bunch of sadistic bondage scenes. And if he had shown me the script and looked me in the eye and said, "Do you understand what I want?" I would have said, "Yeah, I think we're good." Right? But I would have had to have the conversation, right? All these things, But, right? Miles Teller, Army Hammer, all these cats. I'm the only one that can do it. Right? Knowing they have no true intellectual claim to the idea of the movie critic, right? To what? Right? A person who can write about sexuality, a person who can write, a writer, a real writer. And when they saw my novel, they saw my 8 pages of my novel, the women said, "There it is. Now we're settled. Now we're good. Here's a real actor, and he's fucking hot, and he's a badass writer." That kind of makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? But in order for him to justify vaulting me all the way up, right, rather than listen to his feminine side, he stayed cloistered on his masculine side, which is his broken half, and entered into this sadistic psychic campaign, which we're still in the middle of now, because he failed to compel me, right, to control me into questioning him about cinema speculation at the screening of Jackie Brown in June of 2024. Right? And so, right, what does Robert De Niro have to say about it? What does the Tribeca Film Festival have to say about it? What does the reporter for Variety have to say about it who wrote on it? Right? Seems pretty obvious that Quentin is so obsessed and addicted to this thing that it, in fact, is likely that he told everyone, "Oh, I got this new guy and he's going to do this thing," without ever, right, saying asterisk, caveat, "so long as he submits the sovereignty of his mind to me." Right? And so now it's done. I mean, we're all in the room. It's like a weird, and it's awesome and it's hot, honestly, as far as what he needs, right? As a psychic, as a man, right? That I'm the only one who can do it, right? And we're all cool with it, right? All those jokes that I made about him being a creep who beats it in the other room, I do feel genuinely really guilty about that. And I know that he doesn't deserve it, right? He's an angry man who's unresolved in his mind. But I'm not interested in being like him. I never have been. I want to be loving and genuine and true. Right? The violence, right? The sarcasm, the cynicism, that's for the page. Right? That's not for my mind. Right? That's not for our interactions together, right? No secrets, right? Love, togetherness, embrace. That's what I love. That's what I want. I don't need a buffer between me and the world, right? And this is where, right, I haven't been famous for my whole life, and so I don't have any sort of complexes about speaking to people or not speaking to people. You get it? And so maybe this is what show business needs. That's the point. Right? Next generation of pure divinity. Doesn't that kind of makes a lot of sense? It's been mired in occultism and esotericism for the last century. Maybe it's time, right? Like I said, right? We embrace Manly Palmer Hall a little better. See my glasses? There I go. And we leave Aleister Crowley over there. Over there's good. It's good to consider. Right? But practicing these things, right? To say, "Oh, this is what defines me. If I don't have this, then what do I have?" Right? Isn't that right? It's really sad. It's really sad to think about. And also, it's pathetic on my part to be so shallow, to be so ugly, to be so unloving, because I wanted to give him what he wanted. And so what he needed was my mind. And I know that he doesn't actually control my mind, but that's how I saw it. That is how I saw it. That, oh, this is about control. This is about, right? And that is what it is. But I regret it, of course. I have nothing but regrets over it. It was petty, it was small. And I'll keep telling the entire industry that. Forever. Until we're resolved. Right? And I do now, right? I'm all but certain that this is about these women. That this is... There's not really any other reason, is there? And I'm so naive and so pure as a result of my 10 years of celibacy that I can't see how fine I am, right? All these things, you know? There it is, right? I got women commenting on my lips on these videos, right? You get it? It's like... And I know I make weird mouth faces a lot. My point is that if we weren't both who we are, then we wouldn't be here. And I would have made the movie with him and right, all these things. Right? But as far as his wife and Daniela, what can I say about that? What can I say about the fact that I kind of actually do look like her father? Like, what can I had no say. It's like Richard Burton. When they said, what's the most valuable part of you as an actor? He said, oh, it's the distance from here to here. And I did nothing to cultivate it. And that's true in this situation as well. I don't decide what I look like. I don't decide how luxurious and long my hair is. I don't decide how excellent my singing voice is. Right? And so I knew that she was a singer. I guess. Not really. I'll look up women, you get it? Sorry. All that hair. But my point is that kind of like makes a lot of sense for like why he's been so guarded and reserved, because he's never had a reason to deny me. Like, it's pretty obvious now that everyone, like all the girls that he's doing fucked up shit to all the time, were like, yes, young, hot, psychic daddy, he's fucking rad, he respects you. Let's do it. Now let's do it. We're stoked. Right? And because he's a miserable bastard who does sadistic evil shit to his wife. Right? Up to and including, right? Compelling her to make babies with other men. Right? That he was afraid to let me in because, right? He knew. Right? First time they take my virginity, they're all glassy-eyed and crying and saying, oh gosh, never change, never leave my side and all these things. Right? Not because I'm arrogant, but because he's arrogant. Right? Like, that's like, And so, I have a lot of regrets on some level about that. But we're not just like relaxing and seeing that the women needed me to chill, right? Let us like be together so that they can have a way out. And so now, and again, like on a fundamental level, like perhaps it was necessary because now they are standing up for themselves. And it's just become so exacerbated because I couldn't see it. That the only reason I'm seeing it now is because of psychic occultism, is because of these women getting more and more frustrated at my innocence, at like the fact that I can't see them, that they're finally like, open your eye, Brian, open that fucking special eye and see why Quentin's such a miserable bastard, because, right, he always knew that we all fell in love with you immediately. Right? I'm not saying I deserve them. I'm not saying they deserve me. But if they feel that they need me as a protector, right? Is anyone else prepared to argue legally that he deserves to be in a straitjacket like Hannibal Lecter? Isn't that a better question? I'm running out of time. I suppose I'll go. But it's not about me. Not about me, right? Laying dominion to all the hot pussy in Hollywood. About holding a mirror up to their actions and saying, what do you have to say about the raw spiritual divinity that I blast this whole godless Babylon with, right? It's about love. It's about trust, truth, togetherness, right? Reconciliation, right? No black magic evil, right? Right? And let's just also say, in the last 10 seconds I have, that it's Friday. It's been another week of this. How fucking long are we going to endure in this way? God bless.